This week's listener of the week is Morpho Loose. Morpho, thank you so much for leaving us a 5-star review. And for those of you listening, if you leave us a 5-star review below, you might be next week's listener of the week. Week. This week on Commercial Real Estate Secrets, we have Mr. Dave Foster. Dave is the owner and CEO of the 1031 Investor. Dave, thank you for being on the show this week.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Dave, tell us, how did you get into the wild world of the 1031 exchange? Take us through the story.
The wild world, right? Yeah, you know what's funny? For people that are generally in commercial real estate or the deeper into the pool, 1031s are not a mystery. But for most people, what is that? And they don't realize that this is actually been a statute since 1920. So early on, when we decided to start the company and do these for others, people would come up to us at like events and they'd say, "Where are you guys from?" And we tell them, and they'd say, "What's a qualified intermediary?" And we'd say, "Well, if we told you, we'd have to kill you." And of course, right away I said, this is not good marketing. We gotta find a better way to do this. How can we educate you? Because really the only way that I got into it was finding out the hard way by myself 30 years ago. But I sold my very first piece of property and went to my accountant feeling great about it. So he said, "You're going to write a check for $30,000. I said, "Wait a minute, this was not part of the plan." And he said, "Yeah, if you would have had a 1031 exchange." I said, "All right, teach me and find this." And to this day, Aviva, you know as well as I do, if I would have had that $30,000 for 30 years to invest for myself, what would I have right now? Crazy. But that's what the 1031 exchange does, is it allows you to sell investment real estate where you've got a profit or it's been depreciated and buy new investment real estate and indefinitely defer taking that taxable profit. Well, that was the game changer for me. But I realized what that would happen. So 30 years ago, through my own stupidity, I've learned about this and I've been doing it for myself and for others ever since.
You know, when I call those 5-figure, 6-figure, hopefully never 7-figure mistakes, I call them like my college education for that year. When you make a really expensive mistake and you sit back and you're like, wow, that cost college. That was a year in college, and I will learn from that mistake, because that's the reality of the business and doing business, is you will make those costly mistakes and you just have to learn from them.
Funny you should say it like that, because many would say, including a bunch of my classmates, that my whole college education was a 6-figure mistake. But only because, well, okay, for other reasons too, but for the main reason that, thinking about the 1031 again, I'm a great accountant. You would think I would have known better. But the sum total of my experience, learning about 1031 in college, was 1/2 of 1 class grade. That's it. How can you? And of course, the IRS is not going to market it for you. So these are those little known secrets that you just kind of have to follow around until you find them. When you do, they change your life.
So, will you tell us on a very high level what a 1031 exchange is and what dates and deadlines we should be looking for if we're selling a property?
Yeah, for you as an investor, the process itself is relatively transparent. You do exactly like you normally would. List a piece of property to sell it, find a new piece of property, buy it. When you use the process of the 1031 exchange, which requires an related third party, such as myself, to administer it. So we're kind of like Switzerland, where everybody's doing, because you have to use us. So that's okay. But when you follow that process, you get to keep all of those tax dollars working for yourself. So again, think about that $30,000 compounded over decades. If you do that with your as many transactions as you can, the compounding effect is ridiculous. And I say indefinitely because you can do it twice your entire life and beyond. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But as far as the nuts and bolts go, the things that you have to watch out for, the QI, the qualified intermediary, has to be in place prior to the closing list. From that date, you've only got 45 more days to identify your potential replacement property. You have to close on 180 days to close on it. Now, 180 days generally, not such a problem. But particularly in the commercial world, where we have much longer LOI periods and due diligence periods and those types of things, 45 days is not a lot of time. As a matter of fact, you'll barely be through your first round of due diligence when the 45 days is over. And the key with that is that once K45 passes, you cannot alter your list anymore. So what a lot of our commercial clients do is they will actually go into contract for their new property well before they sell their old property. So they're working through a bunch of the due diligence before the old property sells and the 45-day period starts. Does that make sense?
Yes. Is that? Or can you explain a reverse 1031?
That is not a reverse exchange because there's really no such thing except for there's a statutory order that a 1031 exchange has to take. And that is you have to close the sale of your old property before you take title to your new property. So that's the order. You have to sell first and then buy. So what I just described, you're still selling first and then buying, aren't you? It's just that you're already under contract. That's perfectly fine. What a reverse exchange does is it makes it look like that has been reversed. And what has to happen, it's the deep end of the gene pool. What has to happen is that we have to take title to the new property in a separate entity from you. And that we get a whole title to that for 180 days while you complete the sale of your old property. And then you buy the new property from the entity that we formed that's holding it. So you're still selling your old property and then buying your new property. You're just buying it from a entity that was created. Guess what? They're a lot more expensive and complex. But Kenny,
So I am currently in a house, my house, that I bought under a reverse 1031 exchange. I didn't know they existed until we were selling some ground, and I know there's like a lot of legalities and details, and I wouldn't do well in jail, so I hope I don't go to jail. But I thought it was so interesting when I learned about a reverse exchange because it was like, holy smokes, I'm a real estate professional. We never were taught this in school. How does somebody learn about their options when it comes to a 1031 exchange or reverse exchange or anything else?
that's, by the way, what we'll do is we'll simply say that you're talking about a hypothetical situation, of course. Yeah. Just if that ever happened. Now, you're fine. And as a matter of fact, reverse exchanges can be huge when you're looking at moving from, say, a very highly and expensive asset, and you want to do a value-add improvement project. Say you were selling for $1 million, and you want to buy a $600,000 replacement property, but it needs $400,000 of work. And once it's done and improved, it'll be worth $2 million. So we would do a reverse exchange. You would sell your old property. We would buy the new property. And then while we are entitled to it, you're putting the other 400,000 of improvements into it. Then it's worth $1 million. And you complete your exchange, and you were able to sell a used property for $1 million and end up with this like new $2 million property using the 1031. So they do have a great place. These and so many more things are all out there within the statute. But here's the problem. All of Section 1031, the way we know it today, has come about because of a court case that the IRS lost. That had been a nice 20-year court case called Starker versus the Commissioner. Well, I don't know. Imagine that tipped off IRS who's embarrassed. They're not exactly going to make it easy, even though they have to let us do it. So that's the first reason, isn't it? The second reason is that because there is an attorney on every street corner these days, everybody has started to get into the litigation battle, right? So the way that 1031 is applied is being shaped every year by hundreds of court cases. And the IRS is having trouble keeping up, right? So we've got this huge handful of information that nobody really knows how to keep up with. And then the third and biggest thing is that because people like us cannot have any other relationship with the client, we can only do the 1031 exchanges. You've got to find someone like us to learn. Your accountant is not going to know. Because if they were focusing on that, they couldn't do your taxes. Your attorney is not going to know. Because if they did, that they would be able to do your trusts and your legal work. So it's this one of my colleagues once said it is like being 2 miles deep in a 2-foot wide creek. And only nerds like us dare go there. But when you find a qualified intermediary who can help you strategically, we're a small part of the puzzle, but we're a very important part of the puzzle. Because we have to fit into where you and your financial advisors, your accounting staff, and your legal advisors are all trying to take you. And we got to fill that picture. So that's why it's so hard. But if I may ask, how long have you been a licensed realtor?
I'd say 8 or 9 years.
Okay. So like 2014-ish,
Yeah.
16-ish, something like that. So this whole thing happened when you were in middle school. It was called the Great Recession. Remember this?
I was in high school, but
okay, you were a freshman. What are you talking about?
Yes,
that's high school. That's still high school. But here's what really happened. The IRS did not start keeping track of 1031 exchanges till 1996. And the first year that they did, there were only 70,000 done. Now, when we started in 2000, we started to see it really grow, right? By the time America peaked, right before the crash, we were seeing about 600,000 exchanges being done a year. But then the crash occurred. Every investor lost their shorts.
Wow.
Every time I quit trying to call my old clients because they were either broke, in jail, or at dementia. So there was just no point in it after a while. But we lost a whole generation of investors who lost everything.
Wow.
We lost, interestingly enough, a whole generation of realtors. 2/3 of the realtors at that time went out of business because for the next couple of years there was nothing and they couldn't live. And what is now the greatest buying demographic of real estate are people like yourself who are 15 or 16 when 1031 exchanges were last popular.
Wow.
So there's nobody to share that campfire knowledge. And that's why things like what you're doing by having me on, things like what we're trying to do by focusing our company on education first and service along with that. We're hoping Hopefully I'll need to purchase that again.
I am completely obsessed about talking about this online for that very reason. It's when I grew up in a real estate family, and the topic at the dinner table was real estate every single night. What I recognize today is that that's an insane privilege that most people don't have. So now I've taken it upon myself to talk in public online about it, to share the knowledge that I was just born into by the luck of the draw. And yeah, it drives me nuts that something like a 1031 wouldn't be. It's like you said, uh people are not educated on this topic, and the IRS is not incentivized to educate people on this topic.
Right.
And so I I was reading a bit about you, and it says that you have the 4 Ds of 1031 investing.
Aha.
What are the
You want to
4
take a
Ds?
quiz?
Oh, oh gosh.
I mean, come on, you're the realtor. Let's take a quiz.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So there are 4 key factors about the 1031s that all start with the letter D. Easy enough, right? I'll give you the first one.
Okay.
It is defer. And we've sort of already hinted at it. It's because when you do the 1031 exchange, you need to definitely defer paying that tax back. And every day that you defer it, the money that you make off of that comes to you instead of going to the government. So over the course of 20 or 30 years, we actually have an example that we use in one of our classes. What we show an investor in 4 transactions over 20 years. Not hundreds, just 4. Turn a portfolio of $100,000 into $12 billion. Simply using the deferred tax to buy more real estate. That's massive. Okay, so that's the first D. You ready to take a stab with the second D? Is what we get out to you.
Define.
That's a really good one. But it, unfortunately, is defer.
Okay. Wait.
Did I start to see a trend here, Arma? Defer. Because the 1031 exchange can be used very effectively to meet whatever the real estate market is telling you. Right? When we're looking at it, I said, you got this from your parents, I'm sure. I mean, the talk was about where to invest, what to invest in, how to do it right now, what interest rates, all of that stuff. The market has a voice. And if you listen to it, the market will tell you what to do to make a lot of money. The market talked to a lot of people at Palo Alto about 15 years ago. And it said, sell this San Francisco property at a ridiculous price and go buy dirt next door to Elon in Austin, Texas. What do you think happened to those people? To do that, they used the 1031 exchange. It might be telling you that it's time to move out from Southern California rentals, where appreciation has been great, but there's no cash flow. And move into Kansas City or Omaha, where I can get good cash flow now. Or maybe it's telling you it's time to leave simple families and move into multifamilies or commercial. Or with all the incentivization that we're starting to see for first-time ownership, maybe it's tied to ridiculous prices that multifamilies are commanding. Maybe the market is saying, the county vote back into single families. Whatever the market tells you, because the 1031 exchange can be used to go into any type of investment real estate, anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So you really, and it includes numbers too. You can sell one property and buy multiples. You can sell multiples and buy one. So what a great opportunity to listen to the market and react to it, but do it without having to pay tax.
Sure.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What's the third D?
Defer.
Yes.
Okay.
Those clients. It's the golden buzzer. Yeah. Because just like the 1031 exchange can help you to react wherever you see the market, the 1031 exchange can react to help you pursue your goals wherever you are at in your personal journey.
Hmm.
And I'll comment on something you said we're going to talk about in just a quick second. But when we all start out, generally, we've got more energy than we do money. So we're okay buying fix-up properties and painting it tight and doing drywall repairs, whatever it takes to get our investment career going.
Right.
But at some point in time, we start to have more money and less time and energy. Well, the 1031 exchange will let you sell several properties and consolidate them into one larger property that's easier to manage, or provide you with more cash flow doors.
Yeah.
Well, there also comes a time for a lot of us when we want to start to enjoy. It's no fun just buying and selling, buying and selling, never getting to enjoy it. So maybe we start to 1031 exchange into vacation rentals. Or we can start to ask for some use as well and commoditize our family's vacation time. By the way, every trip to see your vacation rental is a business write-off, right?
Absolutely.
Theoretically, hypothetically, of course, right? Yeah. So no matter where you're at in your life cycle now, there's something that I think you did that's so key to this exact point. You did a 1031 exchange, and you sold some land, and you bought a property, and then later you converted that into your next primary residence. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfectly allowable. Okay. We don't have to talk hypothetically. Perfectly allowable to do that. There is nothing that stops you from converting. Here's where that could be key. Is that, let's say I'm an investor at Cincinnati, and I want to retire in Sarasota, Florida. So a few years before I retire, I start to position my real estate in Sarasota using 1031 exchanges. When I'm finally ready to retire, all I got to do is move down there time. And my portfolio awaits me. So I sell my primary residence in Sarasota. By the way, that money's tax-free, right? Because when you sell your primary residence, if you leave it for 2 years out of the 5 before selling it, as a married couple, you would get the first $500,000 in profit, tax-free. Now, you could use that money to go buy it because it's Sarasota. Well, what if one of the places you bought was this real drunk, kicking dead nice beachfront rental, and you decide it's time to just move into that thing? So you convert it into your next primary residence, and the tax-free money from the sale of your primary goes into your pocket. We'll have a cruise, buy ice cream for the grandkids, whatever. But sure is the key. And then guess what happens? Slowly over time, as you live in that converted 1031 property, you will start to eliminate some of the deferred tax. Enter it from tax deferred into tax free. I have a client on St. Pete Beach that bought, with a 1031, 3 identical beachfront condos. He used them for rental for a couple of years, and then he moved into the first one.
Wow.
All he did was live in it, but once he had owned it for 5 years, that meant that he lived in it for 3, so he was able to sell it and take 3/5
Wow.
or 60% of the gain tax-free. And where do you think he moved?
Next door?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wow, right? That's his whole retirement plan.
Wow.
He's sitting out on his back deck watching the ocean while his money converts from tax deferred to tax free. In my book that I wrote, I don't know if you got your copy here yet or not, but we actually tell the story of ourselves, where we moved our portfolio from Denver to Connecticut to Florida, and ended up by using these conversions to buy a 53-foot sailboat with tax-free dollars and move our family on it and raise our 4 children for 10 years on a 53-foot sailboat using money from our vacation rentals to finance the history, all without paying any tax. That's really how doable it is.
Where was your favorite place you sailed to on the 53-foot boat?
Domestically in the U.S., a little island 70 miles off of Key West called the Dry Tortugas. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's old Civil War fort that you can only get to by boat recently. And that was a pretty awesome place. But I would say Fraser's Hog Key at the Bahamas. Again, a little place nobody knows about it. Those are the best. And now I just probably gave a TikTok curse to it. Didn't I? All right, everybody's going to go there now.
Well, we'll protect it. We'll protect it.
Yeah, don't believe that. Let's take that name out. There we go.
Okay. Yeah, you got to protect it at all costs. That's funny. That's unbelievable.
So the opportunities to actually benefit yourself all the way to retirement. Okay, now, I would play a very cool trick on you and ask you to try to name the fourth D. But it's a trick question because it's not defer. It is actually die.
Oh.
I know, right? Not my favorite one either, but we're all heading that way. Think much sooner than you, since you're one of those audio folks or whatever you are.
I am one of those.
Yes, indeed. So, when you die, owning real estate, your heirs will inherit that at what is called a settlement basis. So they inherited it if they paid market value for it. So you can literally defer the tax throughout your life, convert some of it into your primary residence, turn some of it tax-free, and when you die, your estate doesn't pay the tax, you don't pay the tax, your heirs don't pay the tax. It becomes a tax-free legacy of wealth to your heirs. The government never gets it back. Now, I just don't know how I can get any better than that. But this is like, why would everybody ask the question, why would they let us do this? This is too good to be true. It's probably a loophole, something. One of my mentors challenged me once to not look at the tax code as a way that the government uses to get your money. He said, they get your money, that's okay, but they can do it in other ways. Think of the tax code as the government's behavior incentivizer.
Yeah.
And when you do what they tell you to do, because they want you to do it, you will be rewarded. Well, I started even thinking about that. It costs so much to you, that's absolutely right. In 1920, the reason 1031 was put into place was to help us grow our nation's agribusiness industry.
Interesting.
We were coming out of the homestead period, right? Where everybody got 160 acres. They all had a farm, but they could not grow. Because if they went to sell that property to buy something bigger, by the time they paid the tax, they were giving up money.
Wow.
So they could not grow, but not only that, all of these young kids that wanted to break into farming could, because there were no small farms to buy.
Wow.
So 1031 exchange was put in a statute. Today, and yes, every president talks about it, and yes, President Biden's administration puts it in their budget every year to get rid of it because they see it as low-hanging fruit. Let's get the money that goes to real estate, investors.
Sure.
As soon as calmer heads prevail, and they see the numbers, they see that the amount of money that they would get by taking in capital gains money from real estate investing would be offset to the tune of billions of dollars. Because what they would lose, the real estate market would stagnate in that part. And what they lose is to real estate trade commissions. because every 1031 is a standard body.
Yeah.
2 real estate commissions, 2 title policies, 2 closings, 2 painters preparing the properties, 2
Oof.
attorneys reviewing documents, 2 appraisers, 2 inspectors. And one thing all of you guys have in common, you all pay ordinary income tax, which is much higher than the capital gains tax the 1031 investor would pay. So they would get a little bit of money, yes, but they would lose so much more. And the other fact that I gotta tell you, because it's crazy, the average 1031 exchange sales price is just a little under $400,000. Does that sound like that's the Hildens and the Astors and Rockefellers? No, that's you and me. If you take away 1031 exchanges, you're taking it away from mainstream America, people that are trying to grow. So it's safe for 100 years.
Wow.
And I think it's still going to be safe because the government only does what? A vibrant industry.
That's fascinating. And, it was one of my questions is, what is the future holds for 1031? But it makes so much sense that the ripple effect of eliminating it would be so much more damaging than keeping with the past 100 years of deferring your gains.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the commercial world, if you think interest rates rising above cap rates have screwed around with everybody,
Yeah.
just wait until they also take away the ability to sell a tax deferred. The commercial real estate industry will grind into a halt.
Yeah.
And I don't think the government really does that. I certainly don't.
No. I'll try to avoid that, but at all costs, and hope the government sees us there. So, Dave, this has been really, really fascinating and educational. Let me ask you, what makes you happy in your day-to-day as a QI and real estate investor?
As a QI, I get an obscene amount of joy from talking to people who are where I was 20 years ago and helping them through their first 1031 exchange. And they can just see what they can buy. It's just so much fun. And I guess I've got a teacher's work. And I see that people, there's so much out there, whether it's 1031 or there's just financial training.
Sure.
That people are not getting. To be able to give them that opens up a whole new world. And so I get a crazy energy from watching others' success like that. What was the second half of that question?
Yeah. What brings you happiness in what you do? That's all. I think with real estate, there's a really common misconception that anybody in real estate is evil. But what people don't realize is how much we help one another, educate each other, save each other, help each other build. And there's a lot to be happy about in real estate, and all the fun intricacies that go into it.
We're not quite like used car salesmen, are we?
No, I don't think so.
Interestingly enough, I've done quite a bit of development and rehab projects large scale. I've never heard this term used before, but it's just resonated in my heart. I was working with a bunch of design architects on a master plan for a college campus.
Okay.
Underneath your college campus. Awesome project. And they were running me through what they saw. And they started to talk about when we turn the corner up this street to go to this facility, we want to create a moment right here. I said, stop. A moment is time. And he said, no, a moment is something that takes your breath away. And ever since that time, That's been my goal in all of my rehab projects. Is I look and I say, how can I create a moment here where someone who buys my house walks in with their newborn child or has their grade schooler jump up on their lap at this family room or enjoys this part of the yard. Real estate is, I think, really just it's a composite of our lives. And it should be a collection of moments that take your breath away.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I agree. And hopefully they're on an island somewhere.
Absolutely. Just not the one I talked about.
Yes,
Those are really
I don't know
ugly.
which one.
They're not good. Don't know.
You're gonna hate it.
But
Dave, thank you so much for your time today. Where can the folks on the internet or who are listening find you and find your company and your book?
3 places. Amazon has the book. It's called Internet Exchange. I think that's pretty well. The 1031 Investor's Guide, or the Real Estate Investor's Guide to the 1031 Exchange. Sorry about that. Just the Dave Foster 1031 book, Amazon. It'll get you there. By the way, we put tons of case studies. This is not just nuts and bolts, blah, blah, blah. These are actual people who have used these for their careers. They have to find it. Wow. Through it. Our whole website's education. The 1031investor.com. It's got links to our YouTube channel, where we've got right now 52 videos on everything 1031, how to use them, how to structure them, how to be strategic. Doesn't it go without saying, please like and subscribe. It helps us out.
Dave,
Yeah, the
you got it.
1031investor.com. Gives you everything you need.
Hey, Dave, thank you for being on the show. This was a really fun episode. You brought a ton of value, and for everybody listening, we'll see you next week. Ready to shatter your glass ceiling while creating legacy and financial freedom? Head to my show notes for our free guide, How to Get Started in Commercial Real Estate.